bodies, plural bodies, inside the car. That apparently is what they're doing right now. The other suspect, we can tell you, was still on the run because they continually give the location update of that third suspect who was running away. And at one point they were describing how the suspect was taking off clothing, taking off his camouflage gear, and continuing to run. They are now converging on that suspect, who was at last check at a church about 3 or 4 blocks away from the scene you're seeing here. The police officer said this was a couple of miles down the road. This is about 1 mile from where the shooting happened earlier at the regional center, where the 14 people were shot and killed. And now you can see officers have got that car, the SUV, surrounded. This appears to be in connection, because nobody knocked it down at the press conference, Brett. This appears to be in connection with the earlier shooting. We're waiting to find out from police right now if, in fact, these 2 suspects inside the car have been neutralized. Brett.
Okay, just to reset for everyone as we're looking live there in San Bernardino, this incident happens shortly after 11 local time. It's believed up to 3, we don't know actually, 3 at least, according to witnesses, military-style gear. They walked into this social services center shortly after 11 local time in a conference center where county health officials were holding a holiday luncheon and opened fire. 14 dead, as we said, 17 wounded. The gunmen were described as having long guns. No specific identification yet on the ballistics of those guns from investigators or from authorities. Now let's go to Adam Housley. He's on the live view, joining us now. Adam?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to have Lance. We just pulled up to the scene right here. Lance, would you take the camera and turn it to the right? We're right here in the corner of what's called Tippecanoe. It's Tippecanoe Avenue is a major avenue out here in San Bernardino. We've been out here before for other stories and things, so it's a major thoroughfare. That's basically the main intersection near where the shootout took place. You can see where they have law enforcement here, ambulance, fire trucks, and you can see some of the unmarked cars that are going through. They've shut it off, obviously, for anybody like us or our locals. We're moving out of the way to let people by. In fact, as we turn the corner here, but you can see a massive police presence here, a massive also federal presence here, right down there. Lance, can you see the car down there? It's shot. It's just out of our reach, I think, possibly. We're going to pull over and walk over there so you can see it. We're right again here on a main thoroughfare, Brett, not far, about 1.4 miles by my count, directly east of the facility. So we're talking really close, obviously, from where the shooting took place about 4 hours and 28 minutes ago. We're going to get out here, and Lance is going to walk over there as he gets out of the car. I'm going to obviously stop the car and do the same thing. Hold on a second. All sorts of, police presence. As I mentioned, about 15 minutes ago is when this all started to go down, when we first heard, and I was first tipped off, that there was a pursuit in progress. That pursuit, we were first told, was a pickup truck and a black SUV. At this point, it appears that they've got just the one car, but Lance is going over there right now. I'm catching up to him. Helicopters obviously are above. Whoa. Police and tactical gear all around, Brett. And they've had, I can't tell you the number of ambulances we've seen that are on standby. Police and law enforcement from all over the region. Lance, we can keep going. We're walking up here closer. Okay, I got you.
Closer, stand by, if you will. We're going to take your live shot as you get closer to the scene. Rod Hoops is a 34-year veteran of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. He retired in 2012 as sheriff. Rod, as you look at this, your thoughts on the day and what's happening?
Well, it's been a really interesting day and a tragic day of events here in San Bernardino. It's unbelievable. I don't know what would possess someone to do the tragic, take things in their hand to create such a tragic incident. I'm watching it as the rest of the country is, and I'm hoping and praying that the individuals that are responsible for this are actually the ones that they have stopped in the black SUV.
Rod, what about that facility and why potentially? And obviously we don't know the motive, but 3 men dressed in tactical gear, long guns, and this social services center. Tell us about that facility, the conference center, and potentially why it would be a target.
Well, it's a facility that the county holds different events in. It is a social services area, and they, as mentioned on the news networks, they do rent it out for different events. The motive and why they would pick that facility is really unknown, and that's one of the scary things. I mean, the motive on why that they would do this at a building like that is incomprehensible. I mean, it's used by lots of people. It's a pretty open facility. I mean, I know that they have some security guards there, but it's kind of in a very, very busy part of San Bernardino. It's around just north of the I-10 off of Waterman Avenue, and it's very easily accessible. It's obvious that the individuals that did this were well prepared and had a plan, and it's very tragic.
Well, Rod Hoops, thank you very much for your perspective, former sheriff there in San Bernardino. Let's go to the Fox News deck and my colleague Shepard Smith, who's been following this since it all began. Shep.
One of the perpetrators, we believe, on the ground here in a pool of his own blood, and two bodies inside this SUV. The tactical vehicles have come in when this shootout first happened. This police car right over here is also shot out. The side windows, the back windows, and there was a police officer, we were told, who was injured by a ricochet, but that police officer is said to be fine by the authorities. So they've moved their way up here, and since they brought in these tactical vehicles, they've now begun to stand down. You can see this officer is in clear sight of this, which suggests to us that whatever has happened here is over. We know that the authorities said they believe there were 3 shooters, upwards of 3 is the word that they used. We don't know whether there was a driver for this getaway vehicle. In other words, did they go in and shoot up the place, kill 14, injure 17, and then come out and drive for themselves? Or was there a driver in the SUV? That we don't yet know. You can see a man coming out of this tactical vehicle, armed out of what amounts to a turret out of the top, and this vehicle that's all shut up. You can see the windows are all blown out, and we've been able to see 2 people inside. It is clear that before the helicopter and the ground crews got on scene, that there was a wild shootout. We know that they've been searching for an SUV. If they had more details than a dark-colored SUV, they didn't share them with us. But Brett, of course, it's possible that they've been on top of this for a while. So they're coming up on Tippecanoe Drive here, and in some way, we'll learn soon enough, a shootout began. That officer injured by a ricochet, 1 victim, 1 suspect down here, and 2 in the vehicle. If there's a third, we don't know about it. But Brett, you mentioned somebody had been taken into custody. Authorities haven't told us this specifically, but there was reason to believe that they would have a getaway driver, and we know the initial report from this scene was that 1 person did escape, and the early reporting is that they have a suspect in custody. We'll see if that's the case as time moves on, but as we take the thing full there, you can see that the predicament, the positions that the law enforcement officers are in are completely different than they were just 5 minutes ago. Initially, they were standing back behind the armored vehicles, making sure not to get in line of sight, and now you can tell by their body language, one man on the left-hand side of the screen behind that tactical vehicle shading the sun as he watches in the late afternoon hours now is what's happening here. I see no movement inside this SUV. Authorities, Brett, appear to be of the belief that everyone in there is either dead or incapacitated, and hopefully they've found the people who shot up that inland center just about 5 hours ago.
You know, Shep, you've covered a lot of these things. This is now the deadliest mass shooting since Sandy Hook, Newtown, Connecticut. It is different, though, as you've been talking about all afternoon. The fact that there was not a lot of information, the fact that these guys acted, it appears, all together on this one target and then got away until now. So we'll find out some more, but it's unique in its perspective as far as one of these shootings.
And left to know now, the authorities who spoke to us first, the first organized news conference, they said, well, they came prepared, and clearly they did. They came prepared with long guns. If the early reporting is accurate from authorities and otherwise, they were in tactical gear. There was no information given to us about their race or really much about them at all, which suggested to us that the reports that they were wearing black masks, clad head to toe in black, and and unrecognizable sort of makes sense now. But the question, Brett, is whether authorities knew more about this vehicle than they let on in the early going. It's not our belief that they did, and we say that because the initial reporting of this SUV driving away came from a man whom I said worked across the street. He heard a water truck guy come running out of the building, and he was armed, and the man said, "There's a guy in there shooting." So the armed man across the street said, "Well, I'm going to come outside and watch this." And he watched a man get into this dark SUV. From the reporting now of KABC, our network news service affiliate, this is how this went down. A woman who was in her own car says 3 cop cars came west here on Tippecanoe Drive or Avenue and pursued this black SUV. So they're in what amounts to a short police chase. The black SUV, people started firing out of the back windows, which would explain why the back windows of that vehicle are blown out. She got out of there real quick, but she apparently saw the beginning of this. Police in pursuit, a man firing out of the back of this vehicle. So somebody driving in the front, somebody else firing in the back. Clearly somebody got out of this vehicle because we're able to see a body on the street in a pool of blood. And Brett, I understand you have an eyewitness on the phone.
We do, Shep. Thank you. Dory Cohen joins us now from San Bernardino. Dory, can you tell us where you are and what you see?
Hi, yes. I'm on the corner of Richardson and Colston, and I followed the 3 cop cars that were in pursuit of the black SUV, and I followed them for about a block up to about Victoria Avenue. It was about a quarter of a mile, and then I heard some shots fire out of the back window, saw the back window, and then I made a U-turn and just got the heck out of there.
So you saw the original shots fired from the back of the SUV?
Yes.
And then the police were already in pursuit at that moment?
Three police were in pursuit. The local police were in pursuit. And then they just started coming from every angle. We have Homeland Security here and all kinds of every police force you can imagine.
Where were you today? Were you anywhere near the event today?
Yes, I was. I'm a private investigator, and actually I was working up on Waterman early today. I got out of there about 11 o'clock. I wasn't working where the scene was, where that happened. I was working up on North Waterman. But, I've been in the area. I live in the area.
Being a private investigator, do you have a sense from law enforcement there whether they believe they have all of the people involved?
I think they do. I'm not really sure about that, but they probably do. I think they're taking a lot of energy on this one spot. I think if anything else that they thought would be going on, they'd be in other areas right now.
Dory Cohen, thank you so much on the scene there on the phone. Mm-hmm. Adam Housley is also on the scene with another eyewitness. Adam.
Yeah, Brett, we're about 150 yards or 200 yards. This is where the shootout began, right where I'm standing, right in front of me where the back window was shot out. Bob Filter was here, and along with some of the employees as well. When you heard what was going on, you gave me a pretty great description, Bob. What was it like?
Well, it was chaos. The cop cars were coming down, the sirens are going off, and right in front of the building, all of a sudden we heard a shot, and they blew out the back window of the SUV. It traveled down the street here about another 2 blocks, and all of a sudden they started unloading, and it sounded like Vietnam out here. They were shooting like crazy.
Both sides were shooting?
Yes.
Did you see how many people were in the car or in the SUV?
No, we didn't, because the windows were all dark, so we didn't see, but we heard there was 3, and they shot 1 up there, so 2 are still loose.
Obviously, you know what happened about 4.5 hours ago, just up the street here, about 1.5 miles. What's the last 4.5 hours been like, and what was it like when that happened? For that time frame.
Well, it's been a little chaotic here. We shut everything down. We locked the plant up. We locked all the gates outside, just in case, because we didn't know where they were at, and we heard the reports that they still were on the loose. So we thought everything was under control because we've been watching the news reports up there, and it looked like the cops were at ease and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden this happened this afternoon. They must have flushed them out from somewhere, and here we are.
What's that feel like to have this kind of gun battle literally feet in front of this business?
My heart's still pounding like crazy, I'll tell you. It was very, very scary. Very scary. When we heard the shots, I hit the dirt, and so did everybody here. We got everybody down, because flying bullets, you never know where they're going to land.
Right. So. Bob Filter, appreciate your time, and sorry to meet under this circumstance. But right again, I'll show you the scene right over here. Well, actually, we're on the scene again. Lance, our photographer, has the shot. You can see right here. We're maybe a couple hundred yards away. Right there is where the shooting ended.